What's up, Rooster?
Good morning, JP. Fellas, how are you?
Hello, Rooster. Hope all's doing all right. We were thinking that we'd be able to talk to you about some deals, but Washington stood pat. How surprised were you?
Not surprised, really, at all. Like, with Ron saying on Monday, I guess it was Monday, look, we're not really interested in acquiring guys on expiring deals. If he was being honest, which I believe he was, and it certainly makes sense. They're not looking to trade draft picks, this upcoming year in 2021 for a guy that might be here for a month and a half. Maybe he fits, maybe he doesn't. And then he leaves in free agency and you're giving away a 4th-round pick or 5th-round pick or whatever it would be. Think back to a couple of years ago with Clinton Dix, right? We all know Bruce Allen stunk as a general manager, but everybody kind of liked that move when they went for it, right? And they needed a free safety, and he stunk, and then he didn't even want to stay here. They even tried to bring him back, and he chose Chicago over them. So, that was the danger of all that. As far as trading a guy like Kerrigan, Ryan Anderson, Dwayne Haskins, the way I looked at it, fellas, all along was this. I would have been more willing to trade Anderson than Kerrigan. I don't think Dwayne Haskins is obviously a part of the future here, but I look at all three of them as prepaid insurance, right? I mean, Kerrigan plays a very instrumental role, number one. Anderson is an insurance to Kerrigan, to Sweat, who's got a concussion, Chase Young, all that. And then on top of that, Dwayne Haskins even is a prepaid insurance policy. That's what he is. I mean, we don't love it, but that's what he is.
Well, I said, and Eric and I kind of agreed on this, with Kerrigan, I mean, I'm not going to trade away the guy for a box of Callaways.
Yeah.
You got to get me something decent, for the future, a decent pick or a player coming back. I'm not going to just trade him away just because he wants to, possibly go win a ring. I might need him.
They're going to need him. And and even though he's only played, 22 snaps over the last 2 games, he's got 4 sacks on the year. And I did the math on this, guys. Last year, which was his worst year in his career, obviously, he had 1 sack per 118 snaps that he played. This year, in much more limited snaps, and obviously different team, different scheme, different everything, he's got a sack per 40 snaps that he's played. So his production, per snap has gone way up in this limited role, and he might be frustrated by that. I know he's frustrated. Everybody wants to play more, especially a professional and a dude like Kerrigan who still thinks he's got a lot of gas in the tank. But they're trying to preserve him for December when he wasn't available last year, when 32-year-olds sometimes struggle to stay healthy and productive and to give you. They are trying to manage this roster by doing everything they can to preserve their depth, their options, their talent, their ability to compete, quite honestly. And I don't know about you guys. Everybody's talked about this mixed message thing. Like, if they would have traded Kerrigan yesterday or leading up to this, what kind of mixed message would that have been after you've been preaching for 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it is, we're going to win, we're going to compete for the division, and then we're going to trade Ryan Kerrigan? That would have been a mixed message, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Rooster, who do you think came close to being dealt? We know nobody moved, but was there a lot of interest in somebody, and Washington football team just didn't want to part with them? Because as you mentioned, for a short-term rental, who do you think was close to being dealt, but maybe didn't get?
So I don't know if anybody was quote unquote close, but I mean, I think certainly Kerrigan had some interest, legitimate interest, I think. From teams around the NFL that, kind of poked around from what I heard. But poked around can be, very, 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 very different than, hey, we're ready to part with X, Y, and Z. I know Ryan Anderson had some buzz to him. Seattle, I heard, was one of the teams. I'm trying to think of some other teams that somebody told me. I can't remember.
Seattle was definitely one that there was talk anyway.
Right, Seattle, exactly. So, but in terms of Haskins, like everybody that thought, let's trade Haskins, well, because it's not going to work here. Yeah, okay, fine, that makes sense. But, you have to have a partner, A, to dance with,
For sure.
and B, here was why I never thought Dwayne Haskins was going anywhere and why I never thought it was going to get serious, and it didn't from everything that I've been told, is, A, you have all the COVID protocols, that's one. B, to trade for a quarterback midway through the year, who can work with a quarterback and teach them their language, their terminology, their system at this? Dwayne Haskins would be useless to any team, period, until minimum December 1st, right? Because you got the COVID protocols, you got to teach him your system, you got to teach him your language, you got to get him in your building, all of that. Who's going to do that? Nobody's going to do that and pay decent compensation.
And the other part of that is that, just like you said earlier, is that he is insurance. Look, we saw Alex, and everyone in the country is rooting for Alex, but he's not. Sure. I mean, he's shot at this point. So if you seriously want to try to win 3 or 4 games down the stretch, and let's say Kyle Allen tests positive for COVID, you can't start Alex Smith. I think I've already determined that.
They believe differently, though, EB.
Really?
I mean, they believe that Alex has really shown them something in practice. Now, practice
like in the last couple of weeks, they.
Oh yeah.
But he couldn't move. He couldn't get out of the way.
They were even saying that right after that game.
They were impressed?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, now we can't see it because we're only allowed out there for 10, 15 minutes, so it's impossible to see. But that's what they all say, and some of the players have said it
So they
as
don't
well.
think he's too slow. Maybe it's just because the Rams were so dominant and they just dominated us, on the line of scrimmage.
That's part of it, plus a monsoon of rain, and they were trying to get rid of the football as quickly as they could because they knew they couldn't block up Aaron. Not only they couldn't block up Aaron Donald, they couldn't block up anybody. I mean, they had the third-string linebacker that had 3 sacks. He hadn't had a sack in 20 games. I mean, he couldn't block anybody. So I don't know if we should just judge Alex Smith just based on that. Listen, I'm not telling you that if Alex Smith has got to play a bunch this year, that they're in a good spot. Obviously, Kyle Allen gives them their best shot, but I think the shelf life based on, probably Kyle Allen is I would say a short shelf life. Hopefully the beer kegs, the little mini beer kegs that I bought yesterday at the store, have a longer shelf life than Kyle Allen does. But I mean, the point of the matter is we look at it like this. If Alex Smith has to play significant time, it's probably because either Kyle Allen got hurt or because he stunk. And if you're on your third quarterback, are you really going to win a lot of games at this? Probably not, right? I mean, we all know that this team doesn't have their quarterback of the future. So I guess the one good thing about getting to Alex Smith is you'd probably, by process of elimination, assure yourself, A, of a better draft pick, and B, of the reality that you need a quarterback in a pretty good draft on the surface coming up for quarterbacks. I mean, that's the way I kind of look at it. If you get to Alex Smith, I hope Kyle Allen stays. I like him a little bit. He's got a little gunslinger. He's got a little moxie to him. I like him a little bit. I do.
So do I.
Yeah, I mean, he's good on third down. He's good mobility. I mean, he's going to drive you crazy sometimes. But I mean, there are a lot of quarterbacks that drive you crazy.
I think he's a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, that maybe not a great compliment, but I think he's going to have moments, and he's going to have disastrous moments.
I don't think you're that. I said Rex Grossman. Now, Rex Grossman with better mobility.
Yeah, he's more mobile. That's why I compare him to Fitz.
Exactly. And I think you're right. I don't know if he's as smart as Fitzpatrick is. I mean,
well, I don't think many are.
Exactly. But the point of the matter is, I think Kyle Allen gives them the best chance to win. If we get to Alex Smith, you're on your third quarterback. You feel good for Alex Smith that he's getting that opportunity, but he's on a contract that you can finally dump out of for, almost a $10 million cap hit, which you can spread over 2 years next year. You can get away from Alex Smith's contract finally next year. Maybe that's good for him. Maybe that gives him a chance to get somewhere else as a backup or as a fringe starter or whatever, and it gives you the opportunity again to clean as much house as you possibly can and reset.
Rooster, I'm going to allow you to put on your GM hat. You can be Rooster Gettleman or fill in the blank, whatever GM name you want. What do you do with Daniel Jones going forward? the Washington football team opposing quarterback this weekend. He's tied for first in the league in picks plus fumbles with 42 since the start of the 2019 season. How do you progress with him? He was picked very high, number 6. Do you give him another year, or do you press the reset button if you're in New York?
Yeah, I thought at one point on Monday night, Cakes, I thought we might see Colt McCoy at some point, either Monday night or starting this Sunday in his return to FedEx Field as the Giants quarterback, right? Because that's his backup. But obviously that final drive helps, even though he was late on the 2-point conversion. I think they just rock and roll with him for right now. Their season's done at 1-7. Even though they've been competitive, you got a first-year coach who did not choose him, but the general manager did, as you mentioned. Gettleman probably gets fired at the end of this year, and maybe they go a different direction in that regard. I would continue to play him because you are truly at 1-7 now in an evaluation mode. You are truly in a rebuilding evaluation reset mode and finding out what you have and what you don't have and what you can make out of him, because he does show some qualities and some flashes of the ability. We saw him rip and run for that big 49-yard run against the Washington football team 2 weeks ago. We saw what he did on the read option run and keeper against Philadelphia. We've seen some of his great ability, but it's just inconsistent, right? It's kind of like Kyle Allen. There's some things you really like, and then there's some things that'll drive you absolutely to drink. So the question is that a young quarterback, or is that going to be always what he is? That's not what he was at Duke, but we all know it's different being a quarterback at Duke and then in the NFL. I would continue to play him. I would continue to let him be, again, up and down, and hopefully he is less down than up. Sorry, fellas, I have to sneeze.
Go ahead, get it out.
My allergies.
Come on, get that Corona out. Go.
But the point of the matter is the point of the matter is they should just let him play. Now, hopefully for Washington, like their offensive line is spotty, right? Washington's got to get home more consistently. They had 8 sacks against Philadelphia, 6 against Dallas. They had 8 in the 5 games in between. They've got to be able to get home 3-4 times a game, or they have no chance to kind of build on what happened against Dallas.
Do you like Washington in the game?
I do, slightly. I don't think it'll be easy. I think it'll be...
Oh, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about 3.5, I'd probably not take Washington. I'd probably lean towards more a 3-point game, maybe even a 2-point squeaker. How about that? 19-17, I'm going to go.